Hi everybody. Happy Sunday. Okay. So I'm gonna talk about Lewis Howes today. Um, I watched this episode on Diary of a CEO, hosted by Stephen Bartlett. I talked about him before. Um, I really like the way Lewis talks about. Well, the discussion he had was about relationships, but also he has his own podcast about the School of Greatness. Where he talks about forgiveness and other things, I'm sure. I just think that if you can be real with yourself, and the thing about relationships are people are kind of taught to want a relationship, and some people even are kind of conditioned to think they need a relationship to be a whole person. And I think that it stems from where you come from geographically to some point, but also just I don't know, the old stereotype framework of, you're not successful until you're in a relationship with someone. And I personally fell into this also, um, to an extent, but as I'm getting older, I realize that it's not always true. Now my um, thought process is completely different than it was before. I don't look at a relationship like I need one. I look like I would like one, but it's not a need. And also, my criteria for the person I want is completely different than it was before. I'll give you an example. When we're in middle school aged, we think that it's about what's your favorite color, what's your favorite this, what's your favorite. You could go through the whole list, right? And if someone doesn't check off the boxes, then they're not the right one for you. And you go on this search, maybe not in middle school, but say you start dating in high school. Um, you go on the search for the perfect person or the one, um, which the perfect person is kind of, well, it's ironic, but it's also not attainable because no one's perfect anyway. And the idea of the one is kind of so you're searching through this field of people for the one person who's going to understand you, accept you, um, kind of have similar interests, but you don't want to be clones. All I'm saying is that I believe that there's a person out there that will accept every person individually, but I also believe in kind of a tool I never put in my toolbox, which is you can become the one to someone by how much work you put in the relationship. So that's a whole nother dynamic on which to base the, you know, whether you like someone or not. And it's not about liking all the same things. It's about pushing each other or challenging each other, or definitely number one is acceptance of the other person no matter what they do. Now, of course, there are some non negotiables, but I'm saying as a general, you accept the person for what they are and you don't want to change them. I believe that because I think that if you want to change a person, they're not the person for you. So, but this whole notion of the one, I think that as a society we have to get away from, because you're eliminating possibilities when you're trying to narrow down to the one. You know, maybe this person isn't the one, but he's really close, or she's really close. It could be used for men too. But because they don't check off the boxes, you mentally delete them from possibility because of some idea that's been put in your head your whole life. I think we need to change that. Do with that what you will.